All right, so everyone's talking about AI, right?
Yeah.
Especially all these large language models. It seems like every day there's a new headline about what they can do. And yeah, it's kind of easy to get freaked out like, oh, our robot's going to take my job. But today we're going to take a deep dive into a totally different angle.
Mm.
It's not about panicking. It's about exploring what makes us humans so unique and what advantages we still have.
Yeah.
Even as AI gets, super sophisticated.
I like that.
So we're going to be looking at some research from Stanford University.
Oh, cool.
It's from their Open Virtual Assistant Lab, and it's called Explore Where Humans Have an Advantage Compared to AI.
Okay.
And trust me, some of the areas where we excel, they might surprise you.
I'm intrigued already.
So it's not really about humans versus machines.
Right.
It's more about understanding where our strengths are.
Yeah.
Especially because we're going to be collaborating with AI more and more.
Yeah, it's going to be part of our lives.
Exactly.
So it's best to know where we fit in.
Yeah. So the source actually breaks down 6 key areas where humans have an advantage.
Okay.
First up is cognitive abilities.
Okay.
Then we've got physical skills, moral and ethical decision-making.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right.
Especially now.
Huge. Adaptability and learning.
Always important.
Intuition and gut feelings.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then finally, social and cultural context.
Okay, so a good mix of the internal and the external.
Yeah. So why don't we just jump right into that first one?
Right.
Cognitive abilities. So the research highlights how human creativity is often fueled by emotions.
Yeah.
And that's something that AI currently lacks.
It's so true.
Right. Think about it. Have you ever had a light bulb moment that was purely based on logic?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine.
Or did emotions like curiosity or frustration or even a burst of excitement play a role?
I think you hit the nail on the head with excitement. Like, that's when I feel like the ideas flow.
Right. There's got to be that kind of element to it.
Yeah. And it's hard to teach a computer to be excited.
Yeah,
Or to be curious.
So emotions, basically, they kind of drive us to explore unconventional paths.
Yes.
Right? To connect seemingly unrelated ideas.
Yes.
And even to take risks that pure logic might avoid.
Yeah.
Because if you're just looking at data, you might miss something.
Exactly. And AI is amazing at analyzing existing data and patterns.
Right.
Like, if you think of it kind of like a chef,
Yeah.
an AI chef can only cook from existing recipes.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Whereas humans can invent brand new dishes.
Right. Because we can taste something and then be like, ooh, what if I added this to it?
Exactly. Yeah.
And a computer doesn't quite have that yet.
Not yet.
Okay, so I actually have a perfect example of this.
Okay.
So I was trying to come up with a marketing campaign for a new product.
Okay.
And we had all this market data, right? Competitor analysis, like
Yeah.
all the spreadsheets and graphs and everything.
We're down the data.
All the things. But nothing felt quite right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was all there on paper, but
Something was missing.
yeah, it was missing that special something. It wasn't until I stepped back, took a walk, and let my mind wander that I actually came up with the perfect tagline.
Interesting.
It was like my subconscious was kind of connecting the dots
Yeah.
in a way that pure data crunching couldn't.
I think that's a perfect illustration of intuition, which we'll talk about a bit later, but it really shows how our brains work differently from AI.
Yeah.
We don't just process information, we synthesize it.
Right.
We connect it to our emotions, and we use that to fuel creative breakthroughs.
Exactly. So the action item here is, should we all just be taking more walks?
I mean, walking never hurts, but even more importantly, I think it's about actively cultivating cognitive flexibility.
Okay.
So, like, learn a new language, pick up a musical instrument, challenge yourself with a complex puzzle.
To get those brain juices flow.
Exactly. Anything that kind of pushes your brain beyond its usual patterns that can help boost your creative thinking.
Okay, so moving on to physical skills. Now, this one might seem super obvious, right? Like, humans can move around in the real world in ways that AI, even with all the advancements in robotics, still finds challenging.
For sure, yeah.
But the research actually goes a little deeper.
Okay.
And it talks about fine motor skills and proprioception. That amazing ability to just know where your body is in space
Yeah.
without even having to look.
Yeah.
Like, when was the last time you really thought about how amazing it is that you can pick up a pen and write?
That is something we take for granted.
Totally.
But replicating that dexterity and spatial awareness in robots, it's about sensing the subtle changes in tissue, adjusting grip and pressure on the fly,
Wow.
and making those split-second decisions based on years of experience.
Yeah.
AI is making progress, but we're still a long way from robots taking over the operating room.
Yeah, totally. Actually, this reminds me of, I was watching a documentary about robotic surgery.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's amazing what they can do.
Yeah.
But there was this one part where they had to stop the robot
Oh.
because it couldn't figure out the angle to approach this particular blood vessel.
Wow.
And the surgeon had to actually manually adjust it,
Yeah.
which really highlighted the limitations of even the most advanced systems.
Totally.
So this is why it's important to just keep honing those physical skills.
Yes.
Right.
Keep them sharp.
Take up a hobby that requires precision and coordination.
Yeah.
Pottery knitting, even something like rock climbing.
Right.
These things not only refine your motor skills,
Yeah.
but they also strengthen that connection between your brain and your body,
Yeah.
which is crucial for moving around in the real world.
Absolutely.
So put down your phone, pick up a paintbrush,
Yeah.
get those creative juices flowing.
Exactly. And get ready because this next one is where things get really interesting. Moral and ethical decision making.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one.
This is where the human advantage becomes even more apparent. Because we're not just talking about following rules.
Right.
It's about navigating really complex situations where there's not always a clear right or wrong answer.
Yeah, like those gray areas.
Gray areas. Exactly.
The research uses the example of self-driving cars
Oh, yeah.
facing an unavoidable accident.
Right.
It's a classic ethical dilemma.
The trolley problem.
Yeah. So let's say the car has to choose between swerving to avoid a pedestrian but potentially hitting another vehicle.
Right.
Or staying on course
Yeah.
and risking hitting the pedestrian.
Mm.
Like, how does an AI even make that decision?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right.
And it's something that ethicists and AI researchers are really grappling with right now
Yeah.
because human decision-making in these situations isn't just about logic. It's about empathy. It's about understanding consequences. And it's about considering that broader social context. And AI can process data. It can calculate probabilities. But it can't really truly understand the nuances of human values and moral principles.
It's tough, right? Like, you can't really code that in.
Exactly. You can't really teach it either.
Yeah. This actually reminds me of, I was talking to a friend. He's a software engineer.
Okay.
And he works on AI ethics.
Oh, wow.
And he was saying how it's incredibly difficult to program a machine to understand the concept of fairness.
Right.
It's something that we humans learn through experience, through socialization, and through cultural understanding. Like you said, AI can kind of mimic patterns,
Yeah.
but it can't really grasp the complexity of human morality.
And it can't really understand the why behind those patterns either.
Exactly.
Like, why is something fair? What makes it fair? What are the implications?
Yeah. So what's the action item here? Should we all be taking ethics classes?
I think the most important thing is to actually engage in ethical reflection. So it's not just about waiting for AI to figure it out. It's about being conscious of our own values and our own biases and how those influence our decisions.
Okay, so like a self-audit almost.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Like, what are your values?
Okay, so how do we do that? Give me a practical way to do that.
One simple exercise is to just regularly reflect on your decisions,
Okay.
like both big and small.
Right.
Just ask yourself, okay, what values were at play here? Could I have approached this differently? What were the potential consequences of my actions?
Like that.
It's about developing this habit of ethical awareness, which I think is going to be super valuable as we interact with AI systems more and more.
All right, so moving on to adaptability and learning.
Yeah.
This is something that humans are arguably the best at.
Yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
AI might be great at processing information it's given, but it doesn't have the same drive to constantly learn new things,
Yeah.
or to adapt to unexpected situations,
Mm.
or to evolve its understanding of the world. I mean, AI doesn't get that spark of joy from mastering a new skill.
Not yet, no.
Yeah, so this is really where the human element shines.
I think so.
We're driven by curiosity, by a desire to grow, and by a willingness to kind of embrace the unknown.
For sure.
Think about how people adapted to remote work during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was a massive shift.
Huge.
And while technology played a role, it was ultimately human adaptability, creativity, and resilience that allowed us to navigate that transition.
Absolutely.
AI can be programmed to adapt to very specific changes,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have the same broad cognitive flexibility
Right.
that allows humans to thrive in this world that's just constantly changing.
That's a great point.
It makes me think about learning to ride a bike.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, you can read all the instructions, you can watch all the videos,
Yeah.
but ultimately you just have to get on the bike and try it.
Yeah.
Fall down a few times and
Yeah.
just kind of figure it out through trial and error.
It's the experience.
It's that iterative process, right? That willingness to kind of embrace the challenges and learn from your mistakes that allows us to really develop mastery.
Right.
AI might be able to simulate that process, but it doesn't have the same inherent drive to push beyond its comfort zone.
So true.
So what's the action item here? Keep learning.
Exactly. Keep that learning muscle flexed. Make a commitment to lifelong learning. So take online courses, read books, attend workshops, even just have conversations with people who have different perspectives than you.
I like that.
The more we expose ourselves to new ideas and experiences, the more adaptable and resilient we become.
Okay, so are you ready to go to the mystery zone?
Let's do it. I love a good mystery.
We're talking about intuition and gut feelings. Now, I know this one might sound a little woo-woo,
All right.
but the research actually explains intuition as a form of subconscious pattern recognition.
Okay.
It's like our brains are constantly processing information in the background, making connections that we're not even consciously aware of. And sometimes those connections bubble up as a gut feeling
Right.
or as a sudden insight.
Yeah. Have you ever had that feeling where you just know something is right, but you can't quite articulate why?
All the time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's intuition. And while it's not always accurate because it can be influenced by our biases and our past experiences,
Yeah, for sure.
it can be such a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Especially when you use it in conjunction with logic and critical thinking.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's not like throwing logic out the window.
Right.
It's just like adding another layer.
Exactly. Because AI can analyze data.
Yeah.
It can make predictions, but it doesn't have that same access to our vast repository of subconscious experiences and emotional cues.
Okay, so I have an example of this.
Okay.
So I was about to invest in a startup.
Okay.
And on paper, everything looked amazing.
Great.
The numbers made sense. The team was impressive.
Yeah.
But I just had this nagging feeling
Oh,
in my gut
in your gut.
that something wasn't quite right.
Interesting.
I couldn't put my finger on it, but I decided to just trust my intuition
Yeah.
and pulled out of the deal.
Wow.
Turns out the company went under a few months later because of some shady financial dealings that I never would have picked up on from just looking at the data.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
It's like intuition can act as an early warning system,
totally.
alerting us to potential risks or opportunities that might not be immediately obvious.
Yeah.
And the good news is you can actually cultivate intuition.
Oh, really? How do you do that?
Things like mindfulness and meditation can help you become more aware of that inner voice. And they can help you learn to trust those subtle cues.
So it's not about ignoring logic and data.
Right.
It's about adding another layer of understanding. It's almost like our intuition is a compass
Yeah.
that's helping us navigate all the complexity of the world in a way that AI, at least for now, just can't.
Can't replicate. Exactly.
Okay, so last but not least,
Okay.
we have social and cultural context. This is maybe the most profound difference between humans and AI.
I think so.
We are social creatures, right? We're
Yeah.
shaped by our relationships.
Yeah.
Our cultural traditions, our shared experiences,
Yeah.
and AI can mimic human language and behavior, but it can't truly understand the complexities of human interaction or empathy or all those subtle nuances of cultural understanding.
It's like AI is reading the Wikipedia page on human emotions.
Exactly.
But we're actually feeling them.
Right. We're living it.
Exactly.
It reminds me when I was traveling in a foreign country, I was trying to use one of those translation apps to communicate. And it got like the basic meaning across,
Yeah.
but it completely missed the cultural context of certain phrases and customs.
Right.
So I ended up in some pretty awkward situations.
Because it wasn't taking into account those nonverbal cues and social etiquette.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for us to nurture our social and cultural skills, right? Engage in meaningful conversations, learn about different perspectives, and be open to experiences that challenge our assumptions.
Yeah.
These are the things that make us uniquely human.
Yeah.
And they're going to continue to be valuable in a world that's increasingly shaped by technology.
Absolutely.
All right, so we just covered a lot of ground here.
We did.
We explored 6 key areas where humans still have a significant advantage over AI.
Yeah.
Cognitive abilities, physical skills, moral and ethical decision-making, adaptability and learning, intuition, and social and cultural context. And remember, these aren't just interesting things to talk about. They're actually insights that can help us navigate this world that's becoming more and more AI-driven.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It's not just about the theory. It's about the application.
Exactly. But we're just getting started.
We are. Welcome back, Deep Divers. Are you ready to put those uniquely human skills to work?
Let's do it.
In this part, we're shifting gears from just recognizing our advantages to actually like putting them into action.
Yeah, it's like we've identified the superpowers. Now it's time for superhero training.
Exactly. So let's revisit each of those 6 key areas and explore some practical strategies for making the most of them.
Okay, so first up, cognitive abilities.
Hmm.
We talked about how human creativity is often fueled by emotions,
Yeah.
something that AI still struggles to replicate. But how do we actually, tap into that emotional intelligence and turn it into a real advantage?
So it starts with being aware of how your emotions influence your thinking.
Okay,
So next time you're faced with a problem, don't just jump to the most logical solution. Actually pay attention to how different options make you feel.
okay.
Does one spark excitement? Does another trigger a sense of unease? Those feelings can actually hold valuable clues that pure data analysis might miss.
So it's like trusting your gut.
Yeah.
But it's not just about blindly following your feelings, right?
Right.
It's about being mindful of them
Yes.
and using them to kind of inform your decision.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. So try brainstorming with a group of people from different backgrounds. Or experiment with a new creative medium. Sometimes the most unexpected combinations lead to the most brilliant ideas.
So shake things up a bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for all you listeners out there, the action item here is to just try something completely different. Take a dance class. Listen to a new genre of music. Even just rearrange your furniture. You never know what might spark that aha moment.
Now let's move on to physical skills. In a world that's becoming increasingly automated, it's easy to let those fine motor skills and that incredible sense of proprioception get a little rusty.
Yeah, we kind of take it for granted.
We do.
It's those very skills that make us so adaptable and resilient in the real world, right?
Right.
Like AI can be programmed to perform very specific tasks,
Yeah.
but it can't really match the fluidity and the nuance of human movement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So make a conscious effort to engage in activities that challenge your dexterity and your coordination. So learn to play a musical instrument. Pick up a craft like woodworking or calligraphy, or even just spend more time cooking.
I like that. It's not just about, staying ahead of the robots. It's about actually enriching our lives and connecting with the world in a more tangible way.
Exactly. And don't forget about the importance of just movement in general. Take a dance class, go for a hike, or even just stretch regularly. These activities not only sharpen your physical skills, but they also boost cognitive function and reduce stress, which ultimately helps you be more productive and more creative.
So just move your body.
Exactly. Find a physical activity that you actually enjoy and make it a regular part of your routine.
All right, so now let's tackle a topic that's especially relevant in the age of AI.
Okay.
Moral and ethical decision-making.
Ooh, yeah.
So as AI systems become more sophisticated and are entrusted with more responsibility, it becomes even more crucial for us humans to really develop our ethical awareness in our judgment.
Absolutely. It's like we need to be the moral compass guiding these powerful technologies in a direction that actually benefits humanity.
So how do we do that?
So it starts with being aware of our own values and our biases.
Yeah.
What principles actually guide your decision making? What are your non-negotiables? Take some time to reflect on these questions and really articulate your own personal ethical framework.
Okay, so it's about being intentional, not just reacting to situations, but approaching them with a clear sense of what we believe in and what we stand for.
Exactly. And when you're faced with a really difficult decision, don't just go with your gut or what's most convenient. Step back and consider the potential consequences of your actions. How might they impact other people? Are there any unintended consequences that you haven't thought about?
And it's also about actually having conversations about ethics,
Yeah.
right? Not just keeping those values to ourselves, but talking about them with others, challenging each other's perspectives and kind of working together to figure this out.
Absolutely. So the action item here is twofold. First, take some time to reflect on your own ethical framework. And then second, find opportunities to actually talk about ethics with other people. This could be with friends, family, colleagues, or even through online forums.
Like that.
The more we talk about these things, the better equipped we'll be to actually navigate the ethical challenges of a world that's so driven by AI.
Okay, so on to adaptability and learning, something that humans are naturally good at,
We are,
but we can always get better, right?
of course.
How do we stay ahead of the curve in a world where the only constant is change, especially with AI constantly evolving?
One of the most effective strategies is to be intentional about your learning. So identify your learning goals. What skills do you want to develop? What knowledge do you need to acquire to achieve your personal and professional aspirations? Once you have a clear sense of what you want to learn, it becomes so much easier to actually focus your efforts and make the most of your time.
Yeah, it's like setting a destination before you start a journey, right? Otherwise, you're just wandering aimlessly.
Exactly. And don't limit yourself to just one learning style. Experiment with different approaches.
Yeah.
Take online courses, attend workshops, read books, listen to podcasts, find a mentor, or even just start a project that forces you to learn new skills.
It's exciting that we have so many more resources available to us now than ever before.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
like there's all these amazing online platforms, interactive tutorials, and even AI-powered tools that can actually personalize your learning experience.
It's almost too much sometimes.
It is,
Yeah.
but we got to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So the action item here is to just embrace lifelong learning,
Yeah.
make it a part of your routine, dedicate even just 15 minutes a day to learning something new.
Exactly. It all adds up.
Okay, so now for the part I've been looking forward to,
Let's go.
intuition and gut feelings. We talked about how this subconscious form of pattern recognition can actually give us an edge, but it can be kind of mysterious, right?
Yeah.
How do we actually hone our intuition
Yeah.
and learn to trust those gut feelings?
It's not about becoming a mystic or just like relying solely on feelings. It's about cultivating a deeper awareness of your inner landscape. So practices like mindfulness and meditation. These can really help quiet the mental chatter and make you more attuned to those subtle signals from your subconscious.
It's like tuning into a radio station that's always broadcasting, but we're usually too distracted to hear it.
Exactly. Another powerful technique is journaling. So take some time each day to write down your thoughts and your feelings. Don't censor yourself, just let it flow. You might be surprised by the insights that emerge when you just create space for reflection.
So just give your subconscious a chance to speak its mind.
Precisely. And the more you pay attention to those subtle nudges and actually reflect on them, the better you'll become at distinguishing between intuition and just wishful thinking.
So for all our intuitive listeners out there,
Mm-hmm.
the action item is to start paying attention to those gut feelings. And maybe even start a journal. You never know what hidden wisdom you might uncover.
And finally, we arrive at social and cultural context. This is maybe the most human of all our advantages. We are social creatures. We're wired for connection, for empathy, for understanding. And AI can simulate these things.
Wow.
But it can't truly replicate the richness and the complexity of human relationships and cultural experiences.
It's like AI is reading a book about human interaction
Yeah,
while we're actually living it, feeling it, experiencing it in all its messy glory.
that's a great analogy. And the best way to cultivate this advantage is to simply engage with the world around you. Have meaningful conversations with people from diverse backgrounds. Immerse yourself in different cultures through travel, art, music, or literature. Challenge your own assumptions and be open to learning from others.
It's about expanding that circle of empathy, right?
Yeah.
Breaking down those barriers that divide us and recognizing that shared humanity that we all have.
Exactly. And this is something that's going to become even more important as AI becomes more and more integrated into our lives. It's really up to us to make sure that technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And that starts with strengthening those bonds of connection and understanding.
Okay, so for all you social butterflies out there, the action item is to reach out and connect with someone outside your usual circle, have a conversation, share a meal, or just listen to their story. You might be surprised by what you learn. And you'll definitely be contributing to a more compassionate and interconnected world.
We've covered a lot of ground in part 2, exploring all those practical strategies for harnessing the 6 key areas where humans excel.
Yeah, it's like we've gone from identifying our superpowers to actually training in the superhero gym. But I'm sure our listeners are eager to see how these skills play out in the real world.
You read my mind. In part 3, we'll explore some fascinating examples of how individuals and organizations are effectively combining human and artificial intelligence to achieve some really extraordinary results. So stay tuned, deep divers, because things are about to get really interesting.
Welcome back, deep divers, to the final part of our exploration of the human advantage in the age of AI. We've talked about our unique strengths. We even brainstormed some training exercises to keep those skills sharp. Now it's time to see how it all plays out in the real world.
Yeah, it's one thing to talk about human advantages in theory, but seeing how they're actually being applied in different fields, that's where it gets really exciting.
So let's start with an area where AI is making incredible strides, but it's also facing some serious ethical challenges.
Healthcare.
So one fascinating example is the use of AI in radiology.
Yeah.
These systems can analyze medical images like X-rays and CT scans with incredible speed and accuracy, which can help radiologists detect subtle abnormalities that might be missed by the human eye.
Right, it's like having a second set of superpowered eyes.
Exactly. But it's important to remember that AI is ultimately a tool, right?
It is.
The radiologist still plays a crucial role in interpreting those findings, considering the patient's individual medical history and making the final diagnosis. They bring their years of experience, their intuition, and their understanding of all the subtle nuances that an AI might miss.
Totally.
It reminds me of a story I read about an AI system that was designed to detect skin cancer.
Okay.
And it was incredibly accurate in identifying potential melanomas from photos. But there was this one case where it actually missed a very aggressive form of skin cancer
Oh, wow.
because it was located in an unusual place under the patient's fingernail. But a dermatologist immediately recognized the signs and was able to catch it early.
That's a perfect illustration of why that human element is still so crucial in healthcare.
Yeah.
We have the ability to see the bigger picture, to connect the dots in ways that AI hasn't quite mastered yet.
Yeah, there's just some things that you can't code. So for all our listeners in the medical field, what's the key takeaway here?
Embrace AI as a really powerful ally,
Okay.
but don't underestimate the importance of your own expertise and judgment. Keep honing those skills that make you a great doctor. Your ability to listen to your patients, to empathize with their concerns, and to make decisions that take into account their unique circumstances.
Okay, so now let's shift gears and talk about another field where AI is having a major impact. Education. There's a lot of talk about AI-powered tutors and personalized learning platforms.
Right.
But what role does the human teacher play in this evolving landscape?
Yeah, I think one area where AI is showing a lot of promise is in providing personalized feedback to students.
Okay.
These systems can analyze student data, identify areas where they're struggling, and suggest targeted exercises or resources.
So it's like having a custom-made study guide for every student.
Exactly. But it's the teacher who creates the context for that learning, who fosters that sense of curiosity and wonder, and who provides that emotional support and encouragement that students really need to thrive.
Yeah, this actually makes me think about when I was learning to play the piano.
Okay.
I had this amazing teacher who not only taught me the technical skills, but also instilled in me a love of music. She knew when to push me, when to offer encouragement, and how to tailor her teaching style to my individual learning style.
Yeah.
And I doubt an AI could ever really replicate that kind of human connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the message here for our listeners in the education world?
Embrace AI as a tool to enhance your teaching, but never lose sight of that human element. Focus on building relationships with your students, fostering their curiosity, and creating a learning environment where they feel supported and inspired.
Okay, so time for a curveball.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a field that's often seen as the opposite of technology. Art and design. Can AI truly be creative?
That is the question that everyone is asking right now. We're seeing AI create some pretty impressive works of art, from paintings and sculptures to music and even poetry. But can it truly express emotions or capture the essence of the human experience?
I don't know. Seems like there's something missing, like that spark of soul or a depth of meaning that comes from lived experience.
That's what a lot of critics are saying. And that's where the collaboration between human artists and AI gets really interesting.
Yeah, it's like AI is a new kind of tool, like a digital paintbrush or a virtual instrument that artists can use to kind of expand their creative possibility.
Exactly. We're seeing artists use AI to generate new ideas, to experiment with different styles, and to push the boundaries of their own imagination. But ultimately, it's the artist's vision, their emotions, and their unique perspective on the world that gives the work its meaning.
It makes me think of this photographer I follow. She uses AI to create these surreal, dreamlike images. She'll feed the AI her own photographs, and then she'll manipulate the results to create these incredibly evocative pieces. It's like she's collaborating with the machine to tap into a deeper level of creativity.
I love that. It shows how AI can be a catalyst for human expression, but it's still the human artist who's at the helm, guiding the process and infusing the work with their own unique perspective.
So for all of our creative listeners out there, what's the takeaway?
Don't be afraid to experiment with AI as a creative partner. Use it to explore new ideas, to break out of your comfort zone, and to push the boundaries of your art. But always remember that it's your human touch that makes your work truly special.
So you've covered a lot of ground today, exploring how human intelligence and AI can work together in different fields, from healthcare and education to the creative arts. And the key takeaway here is as AI continues to evolve, it's our uniquely human qualities that will become even more valuable. Our creativity, our empathy, our adaptability, our ethical judgment, and our ability to connect with each other on a deep human level. These are the things that will shape the future. So let's not be afraid to embrace the future, but let's also remember to nurture the human spirit that makes us who we are.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. The future is ours to create.